I recently went public with the fact that I not only have $42,000 in credit card debt, but that I am filing Chapter 7 bankruptcy. And boy,
this is why I like to talk about it.
Your threshold for debt increases with time.
Just would never.
While you're sitting behind your screen judging me, I'm sitting over here absolutely free.
So somebody actually sent me a TikTok of this lady. She's $40,000 in debt, and they wanted me to react to it, I guess. So let's see what's going on.
I have $40,000 in credit card debt. 40.
Okay.
So let's talk about it. First of all, that is a statement that I thought I would be taking to my grave. I never thought I would tell another soul. And in fact, until today, I have never told another soul about my struggles with credit card debt, because this is not the beginning. If we rewind all the way back to about 19 or 20-year-old Lana, that is when my journey with credit card debt began. I was 19 years old and I was dating a man who was 31, and he did not support me or help me financially in any way. And I was trying to live his lifestyle off my minimum wage job, and I was living outside my means, to be quite frank.
Now, I know a lot of people probably are like, oh my gosh, you did all of that trying to keep up with the man or blah, blah. I personally appreciate her level of honesty, because you just never know who is going through something similar, who just needs to hear from somebody else who's probably went through the same thing, how this ended up affecting their life.
I got myself into credit card debt, or I stayed in credit card debt until I was about 21, at which point I was able to pay it off over the course of just like really cutting back and being very diligent about making as many extra payments as I could to my debt. And then I got out of it and I was like, oh my gosh, that's the most freeing thing. I'm never doing that again.
It is.
And then I did.
Oh, okay.
And then I paid that debt off. And you know what? I repeated the cycle again.
Oh.
I'm in my third cycle of credit card debt. And at this point, my threshold has just gotten so big. Your threshold for debt increases with time, right? It's just like your threshold for anything else that creates stress in your life. Over time, your body has to adapt to the current conditions. So your threshold for what it can hold expands. So right now, the number 40 probably feels staggering to some of you, but it's not a number that I feel fear around.
So pretty much what she's saying is her debt tolerance, whatever number that she was comfortable with at one point, it just got higher and higher the more debt she was getting in. Yo, that's crazy.
So why am I sharing this with all of you? Well, because this debt that I've carried on and off for almost all of my 20s has cultivated so much shame for me. I directly had my self-worth tied up into my financial picture. And so I thought that because of the fact that I had this debt, I was not worthy. I was not worthy.
And that's a complete lie. Y'all, this is two separate things, but you as a person are not your debt. So I'm glad that she's saying that she felt like it was tied together, because how many people probably feel like that? Because we see the extremes that people will go through whenever they feel like, oh, I'm in debt or I don't have money, so I'm less valuable. You're still valuable and you still have a purpose here on earth, whether you're rich or whether you're poor. And it really sucks hearing people say that they feel it's tied together, because you can always change your financial situation. You can. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but it can be done. Even if you have a lot of money, having a lot of money doesn't make you better than the next person. So I just hate that people even feel like they're tied together.
As I've been doing a deep dive into my subconscious mind, just really into my psyche in general over the last couple of years, I have looked at everything very, very, very honestly, but money's been the one thing that I've been avoiding. Over the last month, I have gotten to a place where I cannot avoid it anymore, because I am in a very unique situation when it comes to my finances. And I've been doing all of this subconscious work. And as I sat in meditation yesterday, this just came up out of nowhere that I need to talk about it. I first started by having conversations with my closest girlfriends, because they didn't even know. And after I had spoken to them, I felt the shame just dissipating and leaving my body. And I thought, I'm going to share it with the world. I think I've always known that I was eventually going to share it with the world. I just wasn't feeling ready. And so I'm sharing this with you because I know that so many of us struggle with debt.
It's true.
I know so many of us are in debt right now. And I need you to remember that money is not moral.
Yep.
You are not worthy or unworthy depending on your financial situation.
Funny, I just said that, but yes, let me let her cook.
The more that we talk about things, the less that shame can breed, the less that shame can exist. And I'm just simply to a point where I'm done feeling shame about this. I'm done. And so if I don't feel shame about it, why not share it with you? Because if I can help one person feel less alone on their journey, it's worth it for me.
I love this.
I don't really care what the comments are going to say, because if I don't feel shame about it, you can't make me feel shame about it.
Yeah, right.
So moving forward,
Y'all, make sure you hit like and subscribe to the channel because it's free.
Okay, now that we've got 40 grand, what's the plan? The plan is to give it to God, basically. I am in a full surrender right now with my finances, and I just trust so deeply that I had to get to this level. I had to go to these depths on my journey with money for me to fully untangle my relationship with money. Because if you go all the way back to my childhood, I felt fear and scarcity around money before I even conceptually understood what it was. So as I entered adulthood, I had subconscious beliefs that there wasn't enough money, that money equated to my worth, scarcity, lack. Like I had very, very, very deep rooted fear patterns around money. So even though I entered adulthood and I was able to manage my own finances, and I consciously knew the right way to manage my finances, I worked in finance for 10 years. I consciously knew the right decisions to make. I would not make those because my subconscious mind was running the show, not my conscious mind. I was operating from my subconscious beliefs that there isn't enough, fear, scarcity, lack, instability. So a lot of times, even when I had money in my checking account, I would spend on a credit card.
Y'all, let me know in the comments, does any of this sound like anybody you know, or is this a personal experience that you've had with money? A few things that she said so far that stuck out to me was that she ended up telling her friends about the situation because she didn't feel shame anymore. You know, a lot of the shame that people feel, I think, is because they feel like they're the only ones that struggle with running up credit cards or having a lot of loans or anything like that, or not being like financially where they want to be. But you'll be surprised how many people that are probably in your inner circle that are doing the same exact thing. You still don't believe me? The average credit card debt has reached $8,674 so far in 2024, according to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York and the U.S. Census Bureau data analyzed by USA Today. And you never know, she might have even helped some of her friends out just telling her story. And I'm not saying that if you don't want to, you should just be sharing your financial situation, because money is a very personal topic for many people, and I get that. But if these are like your close friends and you're really struggling with something, like if your relationship allows that and it feels like a safe space, then, you know, I get it. The real important thing is just making sure you're getting rid of that debt, regardless if you're telling someone about it or not.
Because I needed to hoard like a little squirrel every dollar that I had in my bank account, because it may never come back and there isn't enough. And what I'm learning through this process is why I repeated those patterns isn't because I have no willpower, I'm weak, I'm unintelligent, or any of those things, I'm unworthy. It's because my subconscious mind was running the show. I was allowing my limiting beliefs to run the show. And this could be applied to any other area of our life. So what I'm doing forward is changing my identity, changing my subconscious beliefs, rewiring my subconscious mind to believe that pleasure and abundance and prosperity are safe. Not only safe, they are my birthright, that I am capable of holding it, that I'm not only capable of holding it, that it is on its way to me right here, right now, that I am an abundant human being. I am releasing the shame around money in general, because money is not moral. We were not born into this life knowing what money is. Money is something we created.
That's true.
It didn't exist when humans, first evolved. We created it. It is not moral.
Kind of on the topic of what she just said, I just hear a lot of people use the phrase like, oh, it's an abundant resource. It comes back to me. Money flows to me. And I just always am of the belief of, how have you planted some seeds? And if so, then yeah, maybe it does abundantly come to you, because there are people I know, like money gonna come rolling in just every which way because they've done things to make the money come. For example, maybe you're using your God-given talents in order to have some sort of business that ends up giving you money because you use your talents, and your talents end up giving you money. So now you have an abundance of money, but you're using something that God gave you to give you the money. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes when you see people with money that just comes flowing in for them, a lot of those people are planting seeds. They have like passive income streams. That means that they had to do some work up front. It didn't just flow in. When I hear the word like money comes to me, I'm almost thinking like money's falling out the sky. And that doesn't really happen for most people.
Most of this debt, this 40 number, I've been carrying around for a little while. I had to put a vet bill on a credit card, and that topped me over the 40 number, and that was my breaking point. And I was like,
yo, them vet bills, like, I don't know what she got, but vet bills be doing people in. I done heard of people paying like $4,000 because their dog was in there chewing on something they wasn't supposed to chew on. Like, these vet bills can get ridiculous.
Something has to change. And not, how can I work harder to make money to pay this off, but like, what do I need to look at within myself to prevent this from happening again?
Okay, yeah.
Why am I keeping myself in this cycle when I know it doesn't serve me? And I think that's where a lot of the shame comes from for me, is knowing that this wasn't what was best for me, and then I would take action anyway. And then I would avoid it. So I would avoid at all costs. Like if I spent something with my credit card and I felt unrest in my body, avoid, suppress. When I would go to pay my credit card bills, like just only look at the credit card statement for long enough to pay the bill and then put it out of my mind. Suppress, avoid, suppress, avoid, suppress, avoid. Self-soothe in other ways, cope in other ways. So we're done with that. I no longer identify as somebody that uses a credit card. I no longer identify as somebody who operates from a place of lack, scarcity, not enoughness, unworthiness, none of that. I am no longer a person that operates from a place of shame. This is my last buried treasure. It might not resonate for all of you, and that's okay, because the ones that are supposed to receive this message and who are feeling overwhelmed by their financial situation, I know that you're going to see this.
That's good.
And I'm here to tell you, it's not about continuously working harder. It's about looking at your subconscious beliefs. It's about looking what's going on within you. What are your beliefs around money? What are your behavior patterns around money? What is your emotional response when you think about your financial situation? What's going on in that subconscious mind, and how can we make a change?
I respect this lady's honesty and her point of view, because it does take a lot of courage to come online to even talk about something that a lot of people just would never. From my point of view, nothing is wrong with looking at your past behaviors, which is what she was saying. Like, she's looking and assessing herself, which is great, because y'all, the data is there. Sometimes it's right in our face. And how many times do people use it? Like, they won't look at their bank statements. They won't look at the things that is telling them what is really going on, how you really do stuff in real life. And that is the data that you need in order to make the change. This is why I think it's so important that people have a budget so they can understand how much money they are actually spending and what they are spending it on. Is it a necessity? Is it something that, hey, I just like this sort of stuff? Is it even enough to cover your basic living? Because a lot of people swipe credit cards because they actually don't even know how much money they're operating off of for their needs. Then you throw in the wants and everything is out of whack. Sometimes some people, even just off of their needs, might need to make more money.
We don't get to choose our childhoods. We don't get to choose the beliefs that form about ourselves in childhood. But when we are adults, there's self-responsibility, and it is up to us to create the change that we desire. So
that's true. It is up to you.
I know without a doubt that by the end of this year, that debt will be paid.
Good.
I release any worry or fear or stress about it at all, giving this to God, because I know that this is my path. I know that this is here to teach me something. I know I had to go down this journey to learn what I needed to learn, to get the medicine that I need to continue to step forth into this person that I came here to be. So I don't feel shame.
Good.
And I don't want you to feel shame either. So if sharing my story helps one person, then it's worth it for me. 40. I have $40,000 in credit card debt. And I'm saying that publicly, so we're going to celebrate. I recently went public with the fact that I not only have $42,000 in credit card debt, but that I am filing Chapter 7 bankruptcy. And boy, have I triggered a lot of people's own shame that they're carrying within them. And I just want to reframe something for you really quickly, because I have been getting probably the most, judgment from the gym community that I used to be a part of, where I know there's a lot of mess happening behind the scenes.
Okay.
I know there's a lot of mess happening behind the scenes. And it's really interesting to me that people who live in glass houses will cast stones. But I just want to do a little reframe, okay? Let's just look at this from a different point of view.
Okay. Let's see what's going on.
Imagine you are a man who's married, okay? You're a husband. And imagine that you cheat on your wife multiple times. You have an affair multiple times with the same woman, okay?
Don't do it.
And while that's happening behind the scenes, online, what are you posting? Once a week, I love my life. I love my wife, my beautiful wife. Thank you to my wife for cooking for me. Thank you to my wife for being supportive. So what you are presenting to the world is here. Okay. And what is actually occurring in your life is here.
Okay.
Now, I'm not judging you for engaging in the affair, because I recognize that things are very rarely black and white. There's almost always something occurring that is creating a desire for you to seek connection outside of your marriage.
It was just the analogy for me out of all the ones to use. But all right, I'm staying with her.
Okay? I don't judge. When I was 21 years old, I was involved in an affair. I recognize that things are not black and white. I'm not here to judge your actions. What I'm here to say is that it's really common and normal for what we present to the world to have a gap between that and where we are at, where we actually are in our life.
Yeah, I get what she's saying.
Now, what I'm doing is I presented myself to the world as here, as having my finances organized.
Right.
I took some pretty big risks last year, and I did some things that may have not been the most financially responsible.
Okay.
And I had my actual situation. I was actually carrying a lot of debt, and I've been carrying a lot of debt for a long time. Now I'm closing that gap publicly.
So she's pretty much saying she's being honest about what was really in the dark. She's bringing it to the light. Okay, I can understand what she's saying. Okay.
I'm closing that gap publicly. I'm airing it all out. I'm saying, you know what, you guys, this is where I presented. No, this is actually where I'm at.
Okay.
And that gap is disappearing. And I'm allowing you guys to witness me closing that gap in real time. Yes, my ego has presented itself. Yes, it has been messy. No, I have not navigated this perfectly because this is a messy situation.
Okay.
To dismantle your ego like this, to take a sledgehammer to all of the walls that you had built up around your psyche as a form of protection, there's a lot of crumbling. And in the midst of the crumbling, there's a mess. I'm allowing you guys to see me close this gap in real time because I want to help other people in the process, because I know a lot of people are struggling with finances, and I know a lot of people are experiencing shame around their finances. Most of us don't engage in self-sabotaging behavior, which overspending and getting yourself in massive amounts of debt is an active form of self-sabotage. Most of us don't engage in behaviors like that unless there is a deeper issue.
Honestly, I don't know, because I'm not a professional of the mind. But do I think that there is sometimes some deeper issues? Like, yeah, I do think so. I think a lot of people use their spending to cope with a lot of things.
Me being irresponsible with my finances, it doesn't impact anybody but me. I've never made this anybody else's issue. And some of your behaviors do impact other people. And I'm not casting stones. I'm not judging. I've never judged.
Okay.
Because I recognize that this human experience is not black and white. Here's another gap. The woman that presents herself online as being super confident, okay?
Okay.
But behind closed doors is struggling with an eating disorder, going through her husband's following and constantly assessing who he's following, is getting all sorts of plastic surgeries and whatnot because she's insecure, because her husband's been unfaithful. There's a gap. Most of us have a gap. Most of us are carrying a gap of some sort. I just made mine public and I feel free. And yes, if I could go back, would I navigate some of those conversations slightly different? Yeah. But you know what? I just went through one of the most vulnerable, raw, messy, unmasking experiences of my entire life.
Okay.
And if that's how I had to handle it to get through it, like, that's how I had to handle it.
I'm trying to hear
People
out.
in glass houses, they should not throw stones.
Okay.
And while you're sitting behind your screen judging me, I'm sitting over here absolutely free because I don't have anything to hide anymore. And maybe that's what makes you feel uncomfortable with me.
I honestly felt like she was just being honest about her situation. And yeah, I was like, bravo, like you're helping people. But why the backlash? Here's how I feel about it. Nobody on earth is perfect. And for anybody to act as though we are, it's just unauthentic because we all battle something. Like her thing was she was battling her debt and she felt shame about it. Like I thought that was a kudos moment. Like, what happened? What did they say that made her react like this? It's really none of my business, but that's just the nosy Symone kind of peeking her head out right now. But it ain't none of my business. I mean, at least she wasn't on here talking about, oh, like, I'm just gonna spend, and who cares, and forget my retirement and girl math, and I'm just a girl. Like, she could have went that route, and I personally don't like when people go that route online or like act like debt and credit cards and buy now, pay later ain't a big deal, because it is. She could have hit us with the money ain't real, but she didn't do that. Regardless of the negativity, this sort of video does help people, and that's what I like.
Well, I filed Chapter 7 bankruptcy today.
Okay.
It's official. We're gonna need an emotional support beverage on for this one.
What she does about you?
And before anybody comes at me, this was gifted to me.
Y'all, I know that green when I see it. That's a good old matcha latte. That's my favorite drink. I have one every day.
We filed Chapter 7 bankruptcy, and I'm just feeling so many emotions this morning. I'm feeling so much excitement and gratitude for the fact that I'm going to be able to release this energetic load that I've been carrying around for most of my 20s and be able to start fresh. And I'm so grateful that this opportunity exists.
Okay.
And simultaneously, I am feeling a lot of grief as well, a lot of sadness that this is the position that I'm in. I'm feeling embarrassment that this is the position that I'm in.
Oh no, don't feel that.
I never thought in a million years, you guys, that this would be where I ended up. And yesterday I was feeling a lot of just really heavy about the entire experience or the entire situation. And I know I come on here and I put on a brave face and I'm like, yes, I'm so thrilled for this. And you guys, I am. But the human experience is darkness and light. And now I take full responsibility for all of my actions that have led me to this point. Nobody forced me to spend outside of my means. Nobody forced me to rack up credit cards. Nobody forced me to open up those credit cards. But spending was one way that I was really trying to feel better when I was coping during a very, very difficult season in my life. And last night, my dreams really showed me how everything is so intertwined. So when I was 21 years old, I was groomed by a man almost 15 years older than me that I worked with. I was extremely vulnerable and extremely desperate for love. All I wanted was to be loved. I didn't grow up in an environment where I felt a lot of love, and I was willing to accept it really from anywhere that I could get it. And I ended up entering into a relationship with this man, and it actually ultimately was an affair. He was still in a committed relationship, and I was so desperate for love that I was willing to accept those breadcrumbs, in all honesty. I take full ownership for the fact that I was in that relationship, similar to saying I never thought I would file bankruptcy. I never in a million years thought I would be somebody that would engage in an affair. I've always said like that's something that I would never do, and I never understood how people ended up in those kind of situations until I was in it myself. What I will tell you is the amount of self-hatred that I had for myself and the amount of disgust and shame that I felt from engaging in that relationship really, really was something that I internalized. And I then spent the next almost 5 years dating this man, and it was an extremely unhealthy, toxic environment. You can ask me, Lana, well, why didn't you leave? But it's just really not that simple. And if you've ever been in a relationship that's not healthy, you get it. And if you don't get it, I just don't know if I can explain it to you in a way that you're going to understand, and that's okay.
I'm gonna be honest. I think a lot of people get it. I think a lot of people have been in some relationships that you just look back and be like, what the heck?
A good chunk of the debt load that I'm currently carrying is from that time period that I spent in that relationship with that man, almost 15 years older than me. It was a relationship that did not have any safety. And I was really trying to feel better. And one way that I coped and attempted to feel better was through spending money. I spent a lot of money on clothes. I spent a lot of money on cosmetic procedures. You can tell that I, at one point in my life, have received Botox and filler. It's not something that I have spent any money on in the last couple of years, but there was a time period in my life in my mid-20s where I was willing to try anything to feel better. And I thought, okay, maybe if I just change my physical appearance, then I'll like myself. But as most of us know, that's not actually how it works. So, and you know, a lot of people respond to really unhealthy and toxic situations by coping in some way. It might be overeating. You might gain some weight.
Yeah.
It might be a substances. You might be drinking too much or smoking too much or whatever that looks like. We very much normalize the overconsumption of other things.
I'll just be honest. I struggle, like whenever I'm going through some stuff, one place you're going to catch me is eating. You're going to catch me eating. I remember when my dad passed away, I gained so much weight. I lost a lot of weight at first, but then I gained a lot of weight because I love to eat. And that was like my coping mechanism. That's why I say like, I might not be able to resonate with every little thing somebody says or what they've done or what they've gone through, but I can get where she's coming from. I think sometimes just hearing other people's stories and then hearing the stuff that they say, I can put myself in that predicament where maybe I didn't go through the same situation as you, but have I felt that sort of pain before? Yeah. Have I ate things before because I didn't feel good in that moment in time or I was like down? Yeah. Was I grieving and eating? Yeah. Did I spend a lot of money while I was doing it? Yep. And I think she's coming from a place that is very like relatable, and a lot of people have struggled with the things she's talking about now. We might not have all done the same like play by play what she did, but yeah, I've been there before, depressed and like spending money on food. Yeah.
There's still so much stigma around the overconsumption of money or spending. And ultimately, that was one of the ways that I coped. I forgive myself fully. And so clearly last night I was shown how all of this is so intertwined and how, you know, I really was just doing my best to get through a very, very difficult situation.
Yeah.
And I know that there are going to be a lot of people that are like, oh, you engaged in an affair and you filed bankruptcy. Yeah, I did. I'm not proud of either of those things. I'm not proud of the fact that I'm sitting here filing bankruptcy today. No part of me is proud of it.
Okay.
And this would be so much easier for me to just handle in silence. But God is very clearly showing me that it is part of my journey to share this story with you.
Okay.
You might not resonate to the bankruptcy part. Maybe you resonate with the credit card debt. Maybe you resonate with just operating from such a deep place of shame for so long that you got yourself into some sort of hole.
Y'all, I have not seen this clip before, so I think it's kind of funny that she just said something very similar to what I just brought up. But yeah, a lot of times you have to remember, like, we all are battling something. Like, what is your thing? And maybe nobody knows what your thing is. I'm telling you, my thing is when I get sad, I'm eating. I'm going to Chick-fil-A. I'm going to Marco's Pizza. I'm going to get pizza. And I like enchiladas. I like Mexican food. I like Thai food. I'm eating. Jersey Mike's, chicken strips, chicken burgers, fries on the side, and give me no condiments because I don't like none of that. Like, don't give me no sauce. But yes, we all have our thing. We all cope differently. So who am I to like judge somebody on how they cope? And like, but I'm just saying, a lot of the ways that people cope affect you financially, and then that ends up putting you in such a bad situation where then you're making it worse. It's like now you're coping for something that happened in your life, but now you have financial strain, you have financial stress. That is one of the reasons why I like talking about these sort of topics on my channel, because I know that this is what people do. A lot of people think that they can spin their way out of being sad, that there is enough of something that they can buy to make them feel better. And to be honest, it don't work that way. And a lot of people have spent a lot of money, including myself, doing this. It don't work. If it worked, please point me to the one item that anybody has bought on this earth where they said, this was just enough and I'll never buy nothing else again because this one thing alone is going to make me happy. And I don't think it exists. I don't think there is a thing that is going to singularly make you happy, because I think we as humans are never satisfied. We always got to have the next thing. How many people you've seen do hauls on TikTok and they say they shopaholics or whatever, or they just like buying stuff? The last 9 hauls that they did wasn't enough. They still doing more, and they're going to continue to do more. So if you think that these products or whatever it is that you buying was ever enough, it's not. You got to seek something deeper, in my opinion. And it's not going to be nothing here on earth. That's just my point of view. Now, you can disagree with it. I just feel like nothing here on earth that you ever going to be satisfied with, that you won't never need to do nothing, not never no more. You're going to need something deeper than products. You're going to need something deeper than food. You're going to need something deeper than whatever it is. And it's like a lot of the stuff that you find peace in is free. It's wild, but it's true. There ain't gonna be enough Lululemon sets. There ain't gonna be enough purses. There ain't gonna be enough perfume. There ain't gonna be enough Sephora. There ain't gonna be enough of any of that. What really ends up happening is you stay on this vicious cycle of thinking that you can buy these things and it's going to equate you being happy or get you out of whatever sadness you're feeling. And you just keep on doing it. And while you're doing it, these companies make a lot of money off of you because they want you in this cycle of spending and spending and spending, and not understanding that you're doing it because you have not quenched your thirst for either grief or whatever feelings that you're combating or not feeling good enough, whatever it may be. And they use that for their own gain. I'm not against buying things, by the way. I just think that when you're doing it because you're trying to compensate for something else, you'll just keep doing it. And you'll run up credit doing it. You'll say, I need to do this because I need to be happy. And it's like, how many times you heard somebody say, I need to do this, and like, I need to be happy too. And then while they're doing it, they're putting themselves more in debt. And about a year from now, they're going to forget about whatever it is that was going to make them happy. And they're going to be doing something else that's going to make them happy again. And then they're putting themselves more in debt. It's a cycle. And it never stops. And this is why I like to talk about it.
It could be a whole when it comes to weight. You could have been coping with eating, and now you've got 100, 200 pounds to lose, whatever that looks like.
That happened to me.
The medicine is just in accepting where you currently are at and having grace and compassion and love for yourself and loving where you are at, regardless if you like it or not. When you can just learn to accept where you're at, I promise so much begins to shift and change. So I never in a million years thought I would sit here in any area of my life, but I never for sure thought that I would come on the internet and talk about this and say, I filed Chapter 7 bankruptcy today. For me, this is about the closing of not just a chapter of financial self-sabotage, but this is also about closing the chapter of just my 20s when I was so desperately trying to survive and get through.
What do that do? Like the little odd thing. I don't know what that does, but I see a lot of people use it.
I don't know if any of you or all of you can relate to this, but if you had a really traumatic and chaotic childhood and you enter your 20s just a shell of a human being, just doing anything that you can to survive, you make decisions that your current self, your healed and healthy self, would not make. And I think it's so important to remember that we cannot judge or compare ourselves to the people that have never experienced operating in survival mode. I know I'm opening myself up to the flow of so much abundance by just facing this head on. Filing bankruptcy might not resonate with all of you, but unless you've been in this situation, I think it's really easy to cast stones.
Yeah.
Today, although it's not discharged, just the filing alone was the closing of a very big chapter. To me, this is mopping up the last mess that I was dealing with from surviving in my 20s. And all I have to say is that I love myself. I forgive myself. I thank every prior version of me who did everything that she could do to keep me going, to keep me surviving.
So it was a lot in this video, y'all. I want to know what y'all think down below. Do you resonate with anything that she said as far as her $42,000 in debt? Have you ever had to file for bankruptcy, or is it something that you've ever considered? Have you ever found yourself in a space where you are just constantly spending because maybe you're going through like a bad time, or you're trying to compensate in some other areas of your life? One thing I do know is we all definitely cope differently in life, and maybe you can't resonate with each and everything that this woman has experienced, but I just want to know, how do you feel about the video overall? Comment down below. Make sure you hit like and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate the love and support, and we definitely have to make sure that we are making better decisions today in order to have a better future.